get you more on that story now, bring in our reporter, Linda Mnisi. Linda, let's talk about the nature of the apparent grievances that the accused had. As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, it had something to do with the way in which they were seated. But why did it escalate in the way that it did?
Well, Thembekile, you'll remember that during adjournment, cameras would go off, people would leave the courtroom, and sometimes you'd have the accused still left in the courtroom, but stretching and, just having a conversation, either sometimes with their lawyers or even amongst themselves. And that seemed to be the case today during that tea adjournment. But we then started seeing the wardens coming into the dock, telling them to sit properly, in a way trying to enforce, proper conduct or court decorum on the accused. And that's where the tensions started escalating in the manner in which, they were talking to each other. And that's where we saw the scuffle then breaking out between the wardens and the accused. You remember that the lawyers were then asked to take instructions around what exactly happened, and what they were told by the accused is that they were stretching as per normal during, the breaks, and the wardens did not really like the manner in which they were sitting. But the prison official, the warden, had a different story to tell, saying that this conduct, they've seen it before, and it's not the first time that it's happened. Let's take a listen.
The fourth suspect was the one who started the whole thing. Then on the 15th I came and I was like, no guys, we cannot allow each other to sit like that. This is a court. Yes, it is an adjournment, but now you can stand, you can sit like in a proper way, but you cannot sit on top of that like I just showed. So later on, my colleagues, I was talking with my colleagues that, listen, tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing. Are they sitting in a proper way? Then they were like, no, this is wrong. Okay, I let it loose. And I was like, no, maybe when we go down, we need to address it. Now, before we went down, one of them, I cannot recall which one, he was sitting this side, facing that direction. Can I show you? Was sitting like this.
So, Thembekile, that's Vusi Jele, the warden that was engaged in that scuffle with that accused. Is not Mthokozisi Mapisa. In fact, Mthokozisi Mapisa is one of the accused persons who was allegedly involved in this particular scuffle. But interesting, the judge calling on all parties to explain exactly what happened. As usually, during adjournments, a judge would not be present in court, taking and hearing the statements from all legal representatives, as well as Vusi Jele, the warden himself, making a clear point that all the statements that they're taking, Thembekile, are not under oath, and therefore we did not see a particular ruling on this, just a judge, reprimanding, what was happening and likening, in fact, the situation to the conduct of parliamentarians. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
So let's just behave. I'm not making any finding. That's why I didn't want anybody to sweat, to say he's going to tell the truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me God. Let's just behave ourselves. There's nothing wrong with you stretching. You can even jump. But if the gentleman believes that maybe that is not the decorum we should be adopting, I think he's entitled to have a word with you. But this one of fighting, like in our parliament, and I'm saying it advisedly, because our people watch these things. In our parliament, I once saw a president being rushed by certain parliamentarians to such an extent that there was alarm at parliament, and the security had to go and assist the president because it was under the impression that he's being attacked. We don't need that. Ubuntu. I heard you talking about you can't eat before somebody akbekile. Jela mushroom. when you have a sandwich, you share it with your colleague. The same thing here. If we are all not satisfied with the conduct of Hosi, or number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, you can resolve that by speaking.
Let's talk about what the court was actually dealing with, Linda, before and after the scuffle that took place, because there is still the important issue of the so-called trial within a trial that is yet to be settled.
Well, before that scuffle and before that tea adjournment, the court was hearing from Sergeant Busumuzi Mokhane. You'll remember that he is the investigator who arrested accused number 2, Bongani Ndanzi, and transported him around the time that he made his first and second confession. The confession, or rather the cross-examination, was around basically some of the things that the AVL expert had touched on. So Advocate Mnisi, on behalf of accused number 5, really touching on those issues. But after, that particular testimony we heard, and what seems now to be the height of the state's case, it's now called the lead investigator and the head of the National Cold Case Unit, Brigadier Bongani Gininda. He led the team that nabbed the 5 accused in this particular matter, and he was testifying still on his experience and the kind of experience that he had, but also getting into how, he came to interview accused number 1, Muziga Ukulelwa Sibia, the first time that he allegedly made his first admission. So tomorrow we're continuing with Brigadier Bongani Gininda, and that's likely to continue for the rest of the week. Tambigile?
Linda Mnisi, thank you very much for that. Linda reporting on the trial of the 5 men accused of killing Bafana Bafana and Orlando Pirates captain Senzo Meyiwa at the High Court in Pretoria.